Welcome
to the Bring Me to Life podcast.
It's time to wake up
and shine on. Hello, hello. What up, humans? Thanks for waking up and shining with us on another episode of Bring Me to Life podcast. Super excited. This is probably our last episode of 2021, and we have a special guest. Of course, I got CeeLo here with me.
Hey.
And then we also have Allan from Wonder XP podcast. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Darn good. How are you doing?
It was quite the drive. It was 17 hours of straight driving. Yeah.
Believe it or not, you came all the way to the Appalachian Mountains. Thanks for coming. We're excited to talk to you and hear all about it.
Yeah, this is I believe it's my third time in this area.
First time to Shine Studios.
First time, yeah, to Shine Studios, yeah, on this side of Cumberland. But went through it and seen a couple of familiar sites like the churches and the courthouse and stuff. So.
And that was what, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? We were trying to figure that out the other day.
That would have been I believe it would be right on about 4 years to the date. I would have been coming around a similar time after Christmas. Yeah,
just wandered your way right up into my shop when I had Mountain Shine
Creative. I
Creative.
don't know if wandering is quite the word. I try to find it. Just the thing about mountains is with places that you go with mountains is generally 9 times out of 10 some sort of place will sell crystals. So like when I traveled on the road for so long, I'd find some pretty interesting shops. Like there was this one guy in Montana, and he had it was almost like an oddity store kind of, so to speak, because he had like a giant T-Rex like as soon as you come in the door, and like a moose, and then it was a stuffed grizzly bear from Montana.
Nice.
That introduced you into the door, and he had like names for them all. And he had like blue lace agate and a special kind of agate that you can only find in Montana. And I can't remember. I think it's
Montana agate.
Yeah, it's almost like, I would describe it as like an angel tear kind of color. It's got a really beautiful blue. My other tower buddy actually has a piece that I wrapped before he left, and I sent him a Snapchat of the area to see if he remembered. So,
and did he?
I don't know. He hasn't gone back to me yet.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see what David says, where he's gone in 4 years and where I have. So,
have you noticed any differences in the area?
But when I came, it was snowing, and it was like my outlook of winter, and here it's just like, it's almost like Blair Witch Project with the fog and the mountains and stuff. And we were going through to get some copper so I could wrap some things, and I was just like, man, this is like, I can see why George Washington didn't want to set fort here.
Very dreary.
A little dreary. I mean, it was like decently sunny, like almost 70 degrees on Christmas. You bounced in here the day after Christmas, and we got rain, no snow, just wet grossness. But
yeah, I think I actually was on the coattails of that storm, so I was trying to get in.
Bringing the storm with you?
Yeah, well, I didn't mean to. My journey started at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I actually shaved off like an hour's worth of time doing so. It was kind of crazy.
Because there's less traffic?
I don't know if it was because there was less traffic, or if it was just like, Shannon says I have like this weird ability to just make a certain time happen, and it just like pops in. I don't know, but I do know I took like a shortcut. There's this one route that wanted me to go like 180 miles into Indianapolis, and this other route was like 112 miles, but it was just on some back highway road. And yeah, so I was blaring 70 miles down that. And I do got to admit, I could see it for the mountains, but people's perception of like speed in some of these places is like really funky, because you can only go like 70 miles an hour on I-70 in Ohio and like Indiana, and then on my interstate system, you can go like 75 on the interstate, and then on any major highway, it's like 65 versus 55. So it's just like, apparently people don't have places to be or things to do.
I mean, we do. It's just a little harder with all twists and turns. But
Lots of twists and turns.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's quite different wandering on this side of the map compared to where you're from.
Yeah, you're taking me around and you're explaining kind of the scale of like what it like. I made the joke that like, man, you really have to plan your whole day around a mountain. That's
You really do.
Takes a long time.
Really, really do. You're talking about being able to call in a time and place, and I feel like that's one of your like abilities to tap into your guardian angels. And I'm kind of curious. I want to ask you a few things about that. We just got done doing an angel series here on Bring Me to Life Network. Where we're looking to connect with other people and how they feel they work with angels. And I know you have a unique connection with a couple of different ones. Is there an angel specifically that you feel the most drawn to, or that you have been told to represent, or any of those things?
I don't know if specifically I feel drawn to, but I definitely have been, and it's also my middle name, so it kind of makes sense, I guess. But a lot of people have basically told me that Michael is like heavy in my energy field or aura, or my just any pictures that get taken
Word.
of my like energy field or whatever. So
That's awesome. I think Michael's a really great angel to work with, and it's pretty cool to see other people who connect with him.
Yeah. Michael,
what about you guys? Do you guys have, what about you, Sela? Do you got a specific entity, angel, or?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
It's kind of funny that you guys mentioned that, because Noreen was actually talking about spirits and stuff, so it's kind of weird. That was my last recorded podcast that'll be out next Monday. So
Hey.
you're also rocking a beanie with a little angel on it, which is another. You got some angelic beings on your podcast over there on Wonder XP as well.
yeah, that. So the hat I'm wearing is from Tut Kalich. Yeah, I think that's how you say his last name. I always mess it up. I'm sorry, Tut. But Tut has his own clothing brand. Basically, in my podcast, he explains like all of us are angels. I actually asked him if he was an angel. He said he was an earth angel. But
I'm excited for that podcast.
but enough about that. What about so? What angel, Sela, do you think you emanate or being, spirit?
Well, for most of my time with working with angels, Michael's been there the most, and Raphael I would say would be like the next one that I've worked with more.
So now, like, what is? I'm a little lost on the Raphael one. What does Raphael bring in?
He's very healing. He has like a green, like a bright green color that he's associated with normally.
Okay,
but very like healing angel.
So he'd be kind of like the nurse of the.
Yeah. Would you agree
Of sorts,
with that?
yeah. Raphael helps with healing, works with music, but if you're in a hospital or things like that, you're likely working with Raphael or Azrael. So yeah, I'd say he's like the healer angel.
Isn't Azrael one of your?
Azrael is one that I speak with during mediumship. Azrael is also kind of known as the angel of death and transition.
I really.
Oh yeah, I remember from the podcast. Yeah.
I think one of my buddies vicariously channels that.
I would agree with that statement.
Yeah, he's got a very morbid and dark sense of humor.
They're also a nurse, so
yeah, they're also a nurse. That's the crazy thing,
Yeah.
Silo. I know he acts different around his clients and stuff that are coming in, but like outside of work, he's just like so.
Azrael like.
Yeah, just so morbid. Yeah, just not a care in the world. Like, yeah, there's like 50 different things that could kill you, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I kind of admire people for that reason, just like the ability to not really care a whole lot of like some certain things in life, especially like people who don't care too much about other people's opinions. Like that's something I'm working on in this point in my life, is like letting all that go.
Me and Tut talked about that, and it probably took Tut less time because he was a refugee and he came to America. So like already the standards were not like, there wasn't much expected of Tut from brief conversations and stuff, and which that's no detriment to Tuck because he's done some amazing things. But most of the people I talk to that have done things at some point just had to say F you to everybody to get really anything done. Because I think if you take people's opinions constantly, you'll never find that pathway that you're supposed to go on. It's just kind of one of those cliche things that once you start, well, I guess when you went on your travels, I'm assuming you, like, there was a certain group of people that kind of like fell to the wayside, or no? Or is that just...
what do you mean, like a group that I was with? Or?
Well, not even. So like when you...
Oh, like my family and other
well,
friends? Yeah, I definitely had to let a lot of people go, and to do what I wanted to do, because I didn't want to have a timeline, so I just left and didn't know exactly where I wanted to go. It was just kind of like, I just want to go on an epic adventure and just like see what happens. And so I did have to move out. Basically, I had to tell my roommate that I was leaving, and I didn't know when I was coming back. And he was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, so I kind of
take that too well, or
no, not really. Kind of like mess things up, but I learned a lot from that. But I did have to let a lot of people go. You know,
I think when you go into this position that you're, whatever it is, everybody that I've talked to, when they go to do whatever it is they're trying to do, because obviously everybody's like a fingerprint, they're different, but they had kind of like an onion, they shed a certain layer, and sometimes people kind of fell to the wayside as a result. So that's kind of why I was asking. I know that was the case for me. Like a lot of my friend circle got like considerably smaller every time I'd come back. But
when you went on some of your like long adventures,
yeah, it was a combination of they just moved on in life, like no resentment or anything like that, or people unhappy with themselves that never did anything, or more often it was just really fake people that once you started doing whatever it is that you were doing, they wanted a piece of the action or a piece of the pie instead of helping with the fucking ingredients to make the pie. So
I got you. Everybody wants to eat the pie, but not everybody wants to help make it.
Kind of reminds me of your trip too, when you went with your group of people, CeeLo. You often talk about how you started with 13 of you, and it ended up being just you that made it to Hawaii.
That's a crazy number. 13's like one of my...
We just had a whole discussion about the Council of 13.
Our whole series, was on that.
Yeah, so 13 goes... So my dad, his derby car was 13. My number for football was 13, and my brother's number in football is 13, and in college is 13. And it's just crazy.
Did you know that Friday the 13th used to be like a lucky day? Like people thought it was lucky until they like reversed it.
Yeah, I think that had to do something with the Catholic Church.
They didn't want the power of the number.
Yeah, well, no, I think that specific day, I'd have to look up the article again, but I think they had like a giant, basically witch trial, and then they found all these people, rounded them up, burned them at the stake or whatever to try and...
It's crazy.
Yeah.
My grandma always said it was a good number. She was born on a Friday the 13th, and she seemed to... Yeah, my grandma. Yeah, but I'd honestly say she's had some interesting things happen to her, so I don't know how lucky that would have been.
Yeah, I have no problems with the number 13. The one number I hate, like I wouldn't even say hate. The number I hate to see more often than not is 5.
You don't like triple 5s?
I do not like 5.
Let's talk about that for a second. So real quick, we were talking about angels and how you channel and work with angels. You're one of the people I knew that was like really adamant, and you still seem pretty adamant about angel numbers. Is that how you would say your guides speak to you?
Yeah, probably, honestly. Most people, when I tell them about it, Jared gives me a lot of grief about it, because he's like, numbers, huh? That's what, no. I was like, look, buddy, I could try to explain it to you, but like you're just on a different scientific wavelength than me. And I think spirituality and science has a place and harmonious symmetry to themselves. But yeah, no, I would say that the numbers definitely really resonate within me. They've been a little askewed lately because I'm kind of in the ash phase of the phoenix, where I'm just trying to metamorphosize and become something new. So
bouncing around.
What numbers are you seeing the most right now?
So other than 5s, which obviously there's some discrepancy on that, 7s, 3s, and 1s. So those are the consistent ones. But generally I see mostly all the numbers on a weekly basis. I usually can't go a single day without seeing some sort of sequence number.
So why don't you like 5s?
So 5s, right, if you're basing it off of numerology, is the sign of change. That could be a good or a bad change. And more often than not, the change causes a shift into a new way of thinking or a new path or a new direction. So before I started tower climbing, like it was on the hour, every hour. Like I was working as a commercial glazer in Lincoln. The pay was horrible. I was just really not feeling life at that point. And shout out to Alex Shigley, actually caught me onto it. He told me about this job where you could like travel and like go to these places and stuff. And he's like, yeah, this dude just climbs tower. And I was like, well, hell, I already don't got anything to live for. I might as well try that. So I started putting in applications and stuff for like a fisherman, and I was going to be like a France mercenary because you can get citizenship over there. And I was going to go to Alaska for like lobster boat fishing. And then I was in a pretty dark spot, when you look at lobster fishing.
It's like one of the deadliest jobs.
Yeah. That's kind of why that was the draw to it for me. That and the money. The money was really good. So those guys, like within a 3-month span, make $40,000.
Oh,
yeah. It's no small fee. That's if they score big. But so while all that was going on and I put the applications in and stuff, like, wasn't getting anything, no hits, no callbacks, nothing. And while I was working my main job, it was like nonstop 5s. Like trucks were coming with 5s on them, license plates, my phone, people just like writing the number down, or like cell phone numbers, or just nonstop for like solid 3 months. And finally, like one day it stopped. And that was when I applied at the job that I had there for 4 years. And within, I don't know, like a week, I was over in California. So it was like a huge, like, hey, you're about to make a massive shift. And right now it's just kind of like an annoyance seeing it. It's more of a, okay, all right.
What's one of your more favorite numbers to see then?
So I would have to say probably 11s or 7s.
I mean, you roll around with an 11 on your wrist.
On my arm. 11. It was funny. So like when I went to a gas station, I was trying to, see if people could help me along my travels, but like I couldn't find anybody. But anyways, there's this gas station clerk, and she was like, oh my God, I needed that as a sign today. Like, blah, blah, blah. Just like rant and rave, and she like wanted to hug me and stuff. And I was like, oh.
So what's the 1111 stand?
So 11 is basically like your thought process, right? 11 pretty much would be like a grounding number, I would say, because it's basically the start. It's your thoughts are creating your reality, basically. It's like you can go any direction, you can make anything happen. It's just you gotta kind of pick a direction in order to really resonate that number in. So
nice. I'll say I resonate with that. I know a lot of people who are into 1111. Like I think that's probably most people's like number that they love.
Yeah. Do you got a specific number, CeeLo, or?
I love 9s. I think 9s are my favorite number.
9s. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a transformation number for sure.
Nice. It's 3 3s.
Yeah. So 9s are basically the ending of a cycle and the beginning of a new one. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like 11 in a sense that you're creating a new reality. But 9s are kind of like, okay, you've laid the foundation work. This cycle has passed. You need to learn whatever from it, and then you need to go on into the next thing. Mm-hmm. So I would say I'd like 9s. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Just 9s or just...
9s. There's this weird number that's followed me since I was a kid, and it's 343.
343.
Yeah, I used to like make little videos and called it 343 Productions for a while.
Yeah, I imagine you'd get sued now with that.
Yeah, I think there is literally a 343 Productions.
Yeah, so 343 is actually makes Halo. I'm like a diehard Halo fan.
Yeah,
Fun fact out there.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I don't know. That followed me for a while. And I actually spray painted it on my mailbox, and our number was actually 158, but we wrote 343 on it.
So how the hell did you guys get mail then?
I guess the mailman already knew.
He's just like, I don't care that this is the wrong number. This is where the mail goes, kind of thing.
I got in trouble for it.
I bet you did. I'm sure your mom was thrilled.
That would be like a whole thing. Yeah.
Thrilled.
It was worth it.
All right, I want to go back to your
Well, hold on. What about you, Shannon? What are your numbers? Are you in the number game, or you
triple threes and triple fours are some of my good numbers.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
Change in Trinity, and the fours are stability and growth, and usually I get a good sign of some sort of money or abundance with one of those two. And I don't know. Growing up, I had two best friends, and for some reason, we all asked each other what our favorite number was, and all three of us said 4 at the same time. So it was just kind of like 444s have stuck with me since I was younger.
Yeah, that's kind of weird because mine was 13. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Everybody looked at me like I was crazy, but yeah.
1 plus 3.
Yeah. Well, 13 is what, 7 and 4?
Something
right?
like that.
No,
Yeah.
that's 11. God, my math
Doing
is horrible.
some things wrong over there.
Yeah, sorry. I'm running on limited sleep, guys. I apologize, but
Yeah, you drove, what, 17 hours?
yeah, so like that whole thing, like for those peeps out there, like everybody thought I was going to take like a break, like
We all did. I didn't think you were getting here.
yeah, no, I couldn't
Powering through.
I wasn't tired. That was the whole thing, CeeLo. Like I don't know what it was. Like
So excited.
I don't even know if it was excitement. It was just
Destiny.
apparently something like that. I don't know. My buddy Alex made me a cup of coffee, like, so I put it in my big 32 Big Frig, and I drank that almost all the way through Ohio before I dumped it out because it got cold. But that was like the only thing. I had no Red Bull, no like nothing. Just yeah.
Well,
Coffee in the
thank
sunshine.
Alex.
I did. We did. Like I took my jacket off and I forgot that I put some stones in there, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it, Shannon. But
Yeah, you had some like golden tektites and a couple other things in there.
yeah, I was wearing my Moldavite too. So yeah.
Speaking of, if you're listening to this, you should go check out those articles that Allan actually just wrote on Moldavite, and you had a tektite one, right? Or
Yeah, I believe I did do the golden. No, I
Was it
did. Yeah,
Tanzanite?
yeah,
It
I
was
did
the top
Tanzanite.
5. You did
yeah.
Tanzanite, Moldavite, and then like the top 5 stones that you think were powerful. So
Yeah, there'll
think-
probably be a golden tektite at some point. I just
knocking
Things
them
and
articles
stuff.
out. Here for it. Doing good.
Yeah,
we're
we have a lot
grateful
of-
for them.
A lot of articles, bringmetolife.com, and check out the crystal ones. I think those get the most, honestly. Like, we have a ton of people who just come to our website just to read the articles on crystals.
yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to figure themselves out. So like if a crystal helps, they'll probably search it. So and with my articles, I notice with most articles what they do is they don't really give like the scientific part of the crystal. They kind of just like, oh, this is how it makes you feel, and this is what makes you do. I'm more of like, okay, it's located in this region. It's, you know, so.
What did you have on there? Like the something scale?
Oh, the Mohs hardness scale?
Yeah, the Mohs.
Yeah, so the Mohs hardness scale, like 10 would be a diamond, and then 9 would be a ruby. 7 is quartz, which most everybody knows, which is funny that it's quartz is 7 because we use it the most out of any crystal in the kingdom of crystals, or the genealogy or family or whatever. So
Yeah. And what is Moldavite on the scale?
well, Moldavite can have a varying hardness depending on, you know, its formation. So it can be anywhere from like a 5 to a 7, and people will argue that it's just like a straight 6.5, but I'm just like, you know, with any sort of like terraformic experience that a crystal goes through, like there's going to be some variations because there's so many different elements that go into that that could cause it to be more brittle or more sturdy or hard, you know. So
If someone was getting into crystals for the first time, what ones would you recommend as like a base to start from?
I'd probably say, since it's the easiest to get a hold of, either like a pyrite or a hematite to kind of like ground yourself, and obsidian for like spiritual kind of like protection. And then, of course, like your quartz, obviously, that's like the base one. And I don't know, maybe like a tiger's eye.
I definitely have an affinity for tiger's eye.
Sela's favorite stone's probably tiger's eye.
Any specific reason tiger's eye kind of calls to you?
I think it runs in your family.
Really?
Tiger's eye family.
His aunts always buy tiger's
Really?
eye.
Do they?
Anytime I post a tiger's eye pendant, your one aunt is all on it, and she's probably got like 10 of my tiger's eye pendants.
She's got
funny.
one for every day of the month.
Yeah,
She's one of my faves. Shout out to the aunts.
Yeah, awesome. I don't know. It's just always something that came to me, and I've always like found really beautiful, and I really like it. So, what are like some of your favorite crystals?
All the asteroid ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tanzanite. But, moldavite, golden tektite, black tektite. And I used to have a meteorite that I ended up gifting to somebody out in the desert of Slab City. But
you gifted me a meteorite too once.
Yeah. So I picked that meteorite. It is from China, the mountain region of China, on the western side of the country, but that one is actually like a solid iron formative meteorite. So it actually has a unique spiritual property because it's like a tektite in the fact that it ascends you, but it's like grounding at the same time because of the denseness of it, so.
Yeah. Why are like the meteorite ones like so interesting to you? Is it because they're from like space?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think honestly, that's probably one of the main reasons. That, and just most people I've found have had a strong aversion to those kinds of crystals, and they're super rare. They're, moldavite's a one location stone. Golden tekite's a one location stone. Meteorites aren't one location, but they are extremely rare to find. And if you actually like do a cross section of one, like cut one open, the metal makes a stitching pattern almost like carbon fiber. So it's kind of crazy because the meteorites basically form with no gravity around them. So. And to any of the flat earthers out there, that is the biggest argument against your whole thing, because there's no way we don't have the technology to make a meteorite that has that cross stitching pattern. And there's a scientific name for it, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but when you cut the meteorite open and you see it, the only way scientifically that it can form is all the metals were superheated in a vacuum 0G environment. And so they just all blended together, because on Earth, when you try and make a material similar to it with different types of elements like titanium and iron and like tungsten, it won't have that cross-stitching power because we literally force inject them all to form together. So,
all right,
science.
Yeah, science. You heard it here on Bring Me to Life podcast.
Here for it. Great explanation. So you mentioned that you like the space rocks and that you like them because they're from space and a couple other things. But now that brings me to the alien question. So if you like space and all the things, what's your feels on life outside of just this realm? Are you into the starseed thing? What's your spacey connection here?
I wouldn't say I haven't like, what's that book you keep telling me to read?
Prism of Lyra. I tell everybody
to read the Prism of Lyra. Yeah.
How many times do you think I've said that on this podcast, Ela?
Like,
quite a lot.
So many times. No, I'm not like Prism of Lyra, like in depth, but I definitely think there is, or what would be the craziest thing, and I've talked to my buddy about this, is like, what if we see them and they look just like us? Wouldn't that be creepy as hell to think about?
It would be. Like, what if they made it off planet before an ice age? and like
And then left us.
And left
or just
us.
the remnants.
yeah, and there's just
Something like
a bunch
that.
of our ancestors out there in space.
They just come down like with chains and like crowns and stuff. What up, cuz?
Well, you mentioned earlier that like Tut believes he's an earth angel, and I talk about the earth angels too, but like there's this concept, I guess it's kind of the starseed concept too, where the fractals of the alien-esque beings are like channeled through us or like in our DNA. And that's part of what Prism Elira is about, is how they seeded us into different parts of the world. And I think that's why some people say that Earth's like a school, or it's like a science project. We're like this kind of conglomeration mixture of all the different alien-esque species. So we do kind of just look like each other.
Right. Well, yeah, that's a...
Sorry, I took you down a whole portal.
No, yeah. I do think aliens are real. I mean, I also think that because there's several dimensions that astrophysicists and spiritual workers talk about all the time. So it's crazy to think that there couldn't be a coexistence of demon angels, you know. Okay, so my biggest thing with that is like, I think that everything that our history books and even some of the stories like Iliad and Odyssey, I think all those stories had some sort of truth to them. I also think that I talked to my buddy Corley, who I've been trying to get on my podcast. We talk about the dinosaurs and how the Bible explains leviathans. And when they explain them, they look exactly what you go to see at like the Chicago Field Museum when you see a T-Rex. So I think
Interesting.
dragons, I mean, I think a petrosaur could be a dragon, you know. I don't know if it could breathe fire. I hope it would. That's my hope. But I do think aliens are definitely real. I don't know as far as like the whole science experiment thing. There's actually a thing above the Antarctic Circle in space called the Black Knight object, and it's been floating around the Earth and nobody knows what it is.
Is that the one with like a weird, crazy name? Something
I don't
with a lot of
know,
M's.
but it's just like this big black structure,
Interesting.
and nobody can explain it.
I think one of like a professor from some college was talking about it and claimed that it was like an extraterrestrial like device or something.
Right. One of the so it's funny you speak about aliens. For anybody out there, there's this book series you need to read. It's called Area 51, and it takes you through all of human history, including Count Dracula and werewolves, and it just goes down like this whole spiral. It's so good. And they actually talk about that. They talk about Mars. They talk about the pyramids. They talk about how the Stonehenge in England was formed. And they even talk about Mount Shasta and Mount Everest. It's crazy. They even have, one of my favorite parts is they have the Knights Templar and the Round Table and King Arthur's sword. Yeah. It's a whole like... Hollywood, you need to make a movie out of this book series, or like you need to figure it out. It's a great series. Highly recommend it. Area 51, look it up. It's great. It like that's probably my book of Lyra. It's pretty sweet.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know how Stonehenge was like. What some ideas are like for that. Such an interesting like.
Yeah, the stone structure and everything, and like how the stones came to be. Like, fun fact: Emily's actually seen it. She's like, "Yeah, it's just a bunch of stones in the middle." I was like, "That's so cliche to say," because like if you break it down, it like shows the solstice, the sunset, the sunrise. It shows the position of the planets, and the closest thing we got to the United States of America is actually in my state, which is called Carhenge, which is a car replica of Stonehenge.
We have a mini rock replica here at Four Quarters, not too far from here, that you'd probably really enjoy. It was a beautiful setup.
It's beautiful.
It's like huge rocks. I mean,
yeah,
Not as cool as cars, though.
oh yeah, not as cool as cars.
I mean, we don't got a lot out in the plains, so
it's true. Probably have a lot of nice truck stops.
yeah. One of the, now that I'm out here, one of the things that I'm like noticing is like, there's definitely a culture shock coming to Appalachia. I tell you what.
How do you think I felt when I came to your side of the map? It was an adventure.
So like everybody talks mad stuff about specifically Nebraska. Like there's nothing out there, but when you go there, like people are like completely different than any part of the United States, like Texas, California, or Appalachia, especially Appalachia for that matter. So what was your whole vibe on the Midwest? Because I'm curious as a East Coast girl.
It was just different. I can't really say I interacted with too many people outside of our little bubble. In KC, it was a different vibe. So I grew up here in Appalachia, but I also had to spend a lot of time in Pittsburgh, and they're not necessarily very friendly there. No offense, Pittsburgh. Y'all are very friendly. Y'all got a whole different vibe to you.
Peaceburg.
And then they have Peaceburg, but it's but going to like KC, it just seemed, I don't know, like brighter. Like the energy was lighter and just different compared to the Appalachia. There's a lot of heavy ancestral kind of dark energy over here sometimes.
Yeah, I was talking about that. The fact that, like, I don't know about you, CeeLo, but like riding with her, I saw all the cemeteries, and it reminded me of Maine.
Got lots of cemeteries, lots of war zones,
like,
lots of history.
Yeah, definitely like one of the first states around here, and definitely like a place that settlers were like first starting to do things around here before they moved out west. So there's a lot of history, and a lot of the wars happened here too, like the Civil War and the French and Indian War, and like a lot of wars happened. So there's like a lot of death and some pretty dark history.
Yeah, Nebraska, it's just like they came through and they're like, "Yep, this is a prairie. We're going to the other side of the map." There's not many traumatic things that happened in my area.
It does have like a lighter vibration to it. And it's a lot flatter. You can get to things a lot quicker.
You can see for forever.
Did you ever, in your travels with your group, go to the Midwest or any part of it, or? And by the way, the Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois are not part of the Midwest. Like, we need to stop that whole argument. That's the Rust Belt, and we need to leave it at that. But anyways, go on, CeeLo.
In 2011, before my trip with my group, I actually got to go out to Colorado, and I made it to Nebraska. My friend was actually living in Nebraska because his dad lived there doing like trucker stuff.
What town? Do you remember?
Omaha, maybe?
Ah, yeah, Omaha. Mm-hmm.
So I stayed with him for like 2 days, and he took me to a bridge, and it had just rained a lot, like had just got done flooding. So we jumped off the bridge into the river and like floated down for a while. And
trying to think of what, like a bridge in Omaha, or just
yeah, one of the bridges somewhere in Nebraska. He just drove me to, and we just jumped off the bridge, and there's other people jumping off the bridge too, and I was like, well, this is pretty fun.
I'll have to figure out where that's at. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that was my one visit to Nebraska.
Yeah, you seen the photos of the Capitol building? You said,
yeah, the one that you and Shannon saw was incredible. I couldn't imagine how long it would take to make all of that stuff. It just kind of blows my mind.
It was a very meticulous process, I imagine, but like it's pretty interesting because like I was like, yeah, we got Merkabahs here, and she was like looking at the chandeliers. She was like, yeah. And then she ended up pointing out that there was angels as well.
There were angels. There were just so many mosaics. The amount of mosaics in that building was beyond fascinating. And like you said, the amount of time that had to go into it. And then there were the big, like the cylinders, the
columns.
No, the columns. How much did she say those weighed?
Yeah, so she said those are the equivalent of like 4 elephants.
That's ridiculous.
That's
yeah, it's a pretty. The amount of it's really a hidden gem, you know. Like people, the closest you're going to get to European architecture, I tell people, if you're in the area, is my state capital. Like it's a Neo-Byzantine Roman Empire Gothic revival style, and it not only does it have mosaics on the ceilings and stuff, it also has mosaics on the floor.
Huge ones. The entire floor is basically mosaicked. It was so intense.
Yeah, it takes you through the whole like fossil record of human history and evolution and everything. And then it's got like a couple of the Greek gods, and it's just like is really intrinsic. And then the so the murals, when you walk in the hallway, each mural is made by a different artist.
Nice. So it's curious that like a state building would have evolution and Greek gods and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I want to say that the designer was probably a Freemason, probably.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean, there's even on the doors and stuff, like you look at the building on the outside and it's, you know, unless you're up close and you can see the buffalo and stuff on the outside, it's pretty bland. It's like sandstone yellow-ish. And then like you walk in and you're like, oh God.
Do you know how long it took to like build it?
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, trying to think here before I get my dates mixed up. I think around the 1800s, the design was tried to put in place because we had an old state capitol, and then it kind of fell apart because they lost funding. So they redid it in like the early 1900s. And then I think 1920, after the war, they finally got the funding and stuff and built it. And then I think it was built in 22. It's they were hauling some tail to get that thing done. Yeah. And then they did construction while Shannon was there to redo the golden roof up top. Mm-hmm. So
dang. I'm curious how they like carried and moved something like a column that weighed 4 elephants. Like, what device would they have that would like carry that?
I mean, a crane could definitely do it, but it would be a very delicate process because, you know, granite's not something you can just like slot into place and it not crack or break. Mm-hmm. They're also like multicolored too, so you got like greens and purples, and it's it's when you both come over that side of the map, I'll have to show both of you. But
yeah, that stuff's really cool to think about and look at it.
Definitely. Maybe we can make that happen during our Bring Me to Life tour.
Yeah.
Manifest that into
I don't know if we can do recording in it. That's like one of the caveats of my Capitol building is you can't do video recordings because then they come after you for whatever. But
we need like a pair of glasses. Like,
I mean, I don't know. I took quite a few videos of the mosaics.
Yeah, I think they mean more like documentary kind of thing. So something what we're trying to do would probably be borderline not okay.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But I am looking forward to that adventure, going across the map, seeing all the things. And you guys both talked about Mount Shasta. And have you both been to Mount Shasta?
Yeah, I have. I believe CeeLo has as well. Mm-hmm. Did you go to Weed, California? Or
yeah, I was. That was as far as I made it before I went back to Michigan.
What do you mean? That's as far as you made it?
Like far north. So we started. We went from North Carolina to Florida, and then went all the way over to like San Diego, and then went all the way up through the coast, all the way to Mount Shasta, and then to like Weed for not even a whole day.
It's a pretty interesting town, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just kind of in the middle of a. It's like I think it's like 2,000 people live there. It's like really tiny. The golf course is beautiful. If you guys ever get a chance to golf, you should definitely do it.
I do like golfing.
Yeah.
Shannon, I don't know if Shannon, have you played golf before?
I actually can play golf. It ran in my family. I'm a lefty golfer though.
What do you...
I hold it like a left-handed person instead of right.
What do you write with?
Don't ask me details. You put a ball in front of me, you give me...
No. I mean, like when you're...
I'm right-handed.
That's okay.
You know, I'm a little ass backwards sometimes. It happens.
Maybe you watched somebody that did it that way?
It just worked better. I could aim better. It just happened. When I was in high school, instead of taking normal gym class, I did this outdoor gym program, and they made us do all the things, and I really fell in love with archery, and we had to go golfing, and we had to like do a golf tournament, and I was in like one of the top 4 or 5 people.
Nice.
I think I was the only girl, but I don't know if I could do it now. I don't know. I don't really like competing in sportsy things, but
Gotta get back into it.
So what angel did you guys leave off with in your series? Or how many angels are you guys trying to go through?
We went through 13 like initially.
we did the Council of
Angels.
13, talked about some of the ones I was telling you about the other day. And the last episode we talked mostly about like Michael, Raphael, and Zadkiel, and a couple other things. And then just kind of discussed like how we connect with the angels. So like we asked you about numbers. Is there any other way you communicate with angels? You want to take it back to the angel talk?
Trying to think if there is. I don't. What do you call that? Conduit? Is it a conduit?
Conduit channeling.
Yeah, you want to. I don't see that kind of thing, so you're going to have to explain it to everybody that would.
I mean, you sort of become a channel for Michael at times, and it's kind of interesting because we talked about like NPC characters in one of the episodes of your podcast over on Wonder XP, and sometimes I'll see people that are waking up out of their NPC world, and they'll be like in a crystal shop or something, and me and you'll be there, and you'll just like, you have this glow that like hits you, and then I see you like give them missions, or like if somebody's in trouble, I've seen you kind of like step in and sort of act protector. So sometimes I feel like you also channel Metatron and like send them on side missions, and it's like just something you do with your general way of speaking and showing up in others' realms. So you sometimes are a conduit for both of those, I would say, from my experience with you.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just never really seen it. I mean, it was mentioned on some of my travels when I'd go around. Actually, my buddy 3 Feet mentioned it once, that I had like 3 angels surrounding me at all times. So
yeah, I think we've talked a little bit about Gabriel possibly being that 3rd angel. So
I think Gabriel just kind of comes and goes as he wants. He's
yeah,
Messenger.
and he's kind of like the little brother of the whole group, from my understanding.
something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Gabriel gives me trouble sometimes.
Yeah, you told me you don't really like Gabriel too much.
They come when they need to. They don't always give me the best messages, and I'm a little stubborn. But yeah, so we talked about all the different angels. We talked about how we connect with them, and we were just kind of rounding up the end of the year. So this is probably the last episode of 2021. And
Thank you, 2021.
what a year. What a
Yeah,
roller
good
coaster.
riddance, 2021.
What was your motto? Like, been a weird year.
It's been a weird year.
It's been a weird 2 years. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, but this year is really kind of like sent me on a roller
It's
coaster.
I think this is in numerology, this would probably be either a 222 moment or an 1111 moment.
Speaking of 222s, we got an event coming up on 22222. It's a Tuesday.
All the twos.
It's a February 22nd. It's a Tuesday. We're doing Shine Online. And it's also supposed to be this monumental time in the U.S. history. Something to do with Pluto and technology and all kinds of things.
Pluto, when we first founded our nation, was at this point in our history, and during that time there was also a couple other alignments. I'll have to ask BP that when we get her on. Shout out to BP. But Pluto has made a full return, which most humans, well, actually, let's just face it, all humans will never see, because the return of Pluto takes 243 years. So fun fact, Pluto has yet to make a full rotation as a planet. Because we keep declassifying it. So that's a whole thing. Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
It's still a planet.
It's like the bastard child of the planet family.
But they talk about the Pluto return situation, or the rotation, whatever, that it's supposed to be like the fall of civilization, or the transformation of civilization as we know it.
Right.
And that's a big thing that's supposed to be happening on 222. And I think it's interesting because before we found that out, CeeLo and I had decided we were going to do Shine Online, which is going to be a catalyst then for our bigger, adventure and our tour for 222 or 2022,
2022.
We like the number 2. I guess I'm surprised we didn't say our number 2 was the freaking number.
Bring to life.
Bring me to life. Yeah.
Yeah, well, 2's kind of the number of balance and order, and 2's are representative of harmony.
Nice.
And it's an indication that you're either needing it, seeking it, or you are on the right track. It just kind of depends on how the number resonates with you. But Pluto, so Pluto takes 243 years to rotate into its original alignment from whatever point it was at. And we as a nation are currently at that point. So what Pluto is, for those people that don't know, is Pluto was the god of basically metamorphosis, and he would create things. He was a very, he was a very ugly god. Like, not a lot of people really liked Pluto. I mean, they liked him because he made things, but they didn't find him like attractive, So when I say bastard child, it's kind of retrospective.
Poor Pluto.
Because he was underneath the mountain, and he actually created Zeus's thunderbolts and the shoes that Mercury wore to run around and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, so Pluto, when it comes back around, it's a transformative stone. It's how you evolve, and it's also kind of the underworld and death stone. And it's also aligned with Scorpio, CeeLo. You'll be happy to know that. Yeah, so
hey, represent.
So
interesting.
We're kind of at a time period where that's kind of coming to fruition. People are currently, unfortunately, divided in our nation, as well as politically, spiritually, whatever it may be in their hearts. But it's also kind of this, NFTs are coming out, wealth in a different directions coming out with crypto. Our dollar is losing its power, and everybody's just, it's a really weird time. And it also doesn't help that we had both a solar and a lunar eclipse, and it's just a lot of different varying things that are happening all at once. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next 3 years, I guess.
Yep. Hopefully we can help be a catalyst for the change that we want to see.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that came from it. I honestly think that most of the resets that have happened throughout history, like the Black Plague and the Dark Ages and the fallout from the Bronze Age, are a result of civilizations just needing a reboot.
It's kind of what I've been thinking this whole COVID era has been too, is we just needed a reboot. We needed to have something that shook up society so much to realize that the way everybody was doing things just didn't make sense. And even now, so it doesn't make sense, but people are starting to see through the veil of it and build their own futures in different ways, which I think is really important and really powerful. And Celia, you said something about wanting to be the change that you wish to see. And I think that'd be a great way to start kind of rounding up this episode, because we've been a little bit all over the place. But I'm curious, if you were going to give somebody some advice for the end of the year or to start the beginning of 2022, what is your words of advice for the listeners? Either one of you can start. Give you a second to think.
Okay.
Advice going into the new year.
Yeah, just take it one day at a time, one breath at a time. Try not to take other people's opinions too seriously. Try not to take things too personally, and find something that you can focus on, that you can work on every day, like a story or a project, or finding a new hobby, something that just makes you excited to wake up in the morning.
That's a good one. I don't really know if I have.
If somebody's looking to get out of their comfort zone, what advice do you have for them?
Okay. Yeah. If it doesn't hurt you, I'll just start off with that. If it's something that scares you, you should definitely do it 100%. Like not 60, not 70, like 100%. Do it. just do it. You know, I know that's kind of like a Nike logo, but well, a lot of people, they do the whole what if thing. And I actually made a TikTok video about it the other day. The hardest time and the easiest time to start anything is now.
I agree.
That's pretty powerful.
So you're encouraging people to get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah. I mean, go ask that girl out at the bar that you constantly see, or jump out of a plane, you know, like I did, if you want to. I'm just saying.
I do want to.
Yeah, I think that's part of what our mission is for 2022 is I'm over here trying to rally the troops together so we can go on a road trip and do the things that scare us and to see the places we want to see, because a lot of us have been kind of, you know, caged a little bit with the situation going on. And I feel like next summer is going to be an opportunity to really break out of that shell and to do the things, like you said, that scare us and to be the change that we want to see. And if all goes aligned, I'm hoping to have both of you and a couple others with us to really document that process and to inspire others to come to life. So my advice was kind of a combination of both. Like, if there's something you really want to do, don't be afraid to do it. It might take time. It might take a little bit of planning, but like, don't be afraid to step out of the comfort zone and go on the adventures.
Awesome. Yeah. A little bit helps too. Like little by little, we go far.
I dig it. Well, I think this has been a great episode. I need to go get some water and stay hydrated, but I'm excited that we got you in the studio, Allan, to actually talk in person.
It's been quite a while since I've been on this side of the map.
Yeah. And
Welcome back.
Since you've been on this side of the map, you've launched a whole podcast with us here on Bring Me to Life Network. You're on episode 15 or 16 right now, or you've got a couple in your pocket that we're going to release in the new year.
Yeah.
And so far, it's been pretty good. So if you guys are listening, you've enjoyed this discussion, you want to learn more about Allan, go check out the Wonder XP podcast on bringmetolife.com. There's some articles there, other cool stuff.
You can search it on Spotify and stuff too.
Yeah. It should be on all major platforms, right?
Yeah, I think. Wonder XP.
Wonder XP. Yeah. And then to find you have to throw out opposite letters here. So to find you on most social medias, you're Wonder_XP.
Yeah, so I'm actually kind of trying to work on that. So for those listening, I'm trying to make a separate Instagram with all the video clips that we have gotten. Right now I'm running into technical difficulties with my computer and the videos, but for now, you can follow me on all major platforms at Wonder AW.
With an underscore.
And if you feel so generous to help me with a new drone, you can donate to all major Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Wonder AW. So.
Is there an underscore before AW? I think on most of them, right?
Most of them, yeah.
Wonder_AW. If you need it, we'll put it in the caption of this some which way. And if not, go find it on bringmetolife.com. I think there's a place they can donate to you. And it'd be really cool if you had that drone so that when we go on our adventure next summer,
we need those establishing shots.
Bring that dream to life. Help us bring that dream to life. We want to be able to show you all the beautiful things. But cool. This has been great.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Till next time.
Stay awake.
Shine on always. For many of us, spirituality is just the quest to find essence or true meaning and to really just connect with a higher consciousness.
Connecting with your spirituality is very important in this life. By becoming mindful of all of it, you can realize where you are and if that is leading you to where you want to go.
Listen to the little simple things, because it's those little simple things that are going to shift you vibrationally in such a way that will prepare you to become very intuitively minded and ready to step forward on the next part of your path.
I hope you can feel the love that's inside you, it's inside me, that connects us.
Thanks for shining on with us.